Hey, muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, muchas gracias to everyone for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, and the love you guys extend and share with me. Desde el Cora, muchísimas gracias. Well, at the end of this video, I'm going to be sharing also what I thought was going to be a very important doctor's appointment, but it did help me want to buck up and make a decision, right? But I'll share at the end of the video. I respect not everybody's here for or to hear about it, right? Do please like, share, and subscribe. Well, today I'm gonna be touching on Joker from Misa Victoria, and as you guys know, I don't touch on currently things laying in the lap of Federico's. So I know he just got whacked. I don't know by who, behind what, you know. I know the rumors were it's because he sat down being a Tecato and Pilis felt disrespected by it. So can you guys circle your head around Pilis hitting another Pili for being Tecato or having a Tecato mentality? You know, is what I always say. They are always looking on taking out their brother and taking what's his, right? Nevertheless, allow me to backtrack a little bit, to 2001. I had hit the hole in Ironwood right on A-yard for Guerito from Chivas. I already touched on it. And, back there was a good camarada, amongst many, but I really liked little GQ from Eastside Victoria. There was two other homies from there, Lefty and Rascal. And as you guys know, there was a lot of politicking because at this moment it was all camaradas, right? We were the raza there per se, besides paisanos. And well, you guys know I had already gone back there for Sapo from San Pedro, and I was supporting also from Hammett, but more so I would hold responsibilities for Terco from Bassett, which it was his jardín, right? Nevertheless, every time someone, one way or another, was linked to a Pili that had to have something done to him, I would always raise my hand, right? So I just try to protect camaradas in the sense that politics are, they're ricochet. You pull a mission with a camarada and you'll eventually, you know, and sometimes it could turn out bad, right? When it was supposed to be something positive. Nevertheless, I touched on, cartoon from 18 and the who he had and how he spoke too much from that door out, right? We don't speak too out loud soldado stuff. You're a cell soldier, then you're in good, right? Nevertheless, because of his knowings and stuff, who he was in touch with, I was for a management cell at the time, right? For something that had already happened on the yard. But as you guys know, you go in management cell, you go back to committee more so than ever. At least at this time, they'll put you back on the concrete yard, right? Within a month, you'll be back out there. Homie was still waiting to get classified, anyways, right? So when we went out there, I remember the first yard after getting out, walk alone. We went out there, and I know the vato, right? So as you guys know, management cell, they put you in the very last cell, right? So when I went out there, I introduced myself to everyone, and when I got to him, it was boogie time, right? And anyways, I already touched on that. That's not important. You know, me and Little Bullet, we went into walk alone again, and when we came out, again, GQ had good mind on him, right? He was a real smart individual. But why I started thinking I am real cool is because there was like five camaradas from 18 on the yard, right? And at least at this time where it was all camaradas, La 18 really tripped. if you touch one of their own, right? It was basically they try to make it mandatory that they were the only ones to touch their own homeboys when, you know, they're campuleros just like everyone is, you know. They don't get to call it, but they will get butt hurt. You know, for example, I was calling Rutina and Gizmo, right? He's just something out of pocket that everyone that has known my stories know, you know, I go from 0 to 100 quick, right? But I wasn't impulsive in that sense, especially with a tower and walker in the middle, right? So I asked him, you know, calladito, let's sell up. Which I knew he wouldn't do it, right? For certain reasons, I knew he wasn't going to do it. And so I told him, you know, at the end of the yard, let's go to a corner, let's knuckle up. No hay pedo, you know, once we'll answer up for it. You know, when time comes, we'll receive ours. You know, me personally, I'm down to give one and I'll receive one for it, you know. But again, it's easy to talk, right? Nevertheless, they were grouping up and GQ came up and he told me, you know, like, hey, fool, you know, I got you. And that alone, you know, gained a lot of respect for me, right? Because he knew there was going to be repercussions for it, right? Because we're not allowed to do so. So I told him, nah, don't worry. Let them all five jump. Just let me and my celly boogie, right? At the end of the day, what are they going to do? It would only hurt while they're walking us out the yard, right? Because of the pepper spray. But anyways, that ain't important, right? Within time, palabra came from the street, you know, and it hit GQ straight on. So, nevertheless, the vatos from 18, they were, well, anyways, they sat down to pee, right? I'll just leave it at that, without disrespecting them, but nothing happened. And apologies and stuff like that, but anyway, GQ was more quiet, right? So, of course, I told him, you know, like, hey, you know, I was nobody, never was nobody, but at least, you know, I like the individual. If I could help by getting in a Pili's ear to support him, then I would do so, right? And at first he said chales, then afterwards, you know, we we did our rutina, then we took laps, and he started telling me, you know, basically he had gotten an order from a Joker on the streets, right? His Pili, and it was to move on not Rascal, but his other homeboy that he had there with us, right? And he wasn't given a reason. Basically, it was due for the neighborhood. You know, if you decide to sit on this, you know, they say certain things certain ways that it's not a favor, it's a must, right? And he felt obligated, but he didn't know how to bring it to Oso. So I assisted homeboy, right? And I brought it to Oso, and with a warning, also allowed it, right? Any ricochet from it, GQ was gonna answer for it, and Joker, you know, at the end he got that amapil. So, you know, right before I took off to Tehachapi, GQ did his thing, right? Which it was hard candy. You know, he whacked his own homeboy from his neighborhood, and we pushed forward. You know, for some reason, D didn't pick it up because he had a stay literally short timer. You know, and we met again in Tehachapi, as I mentioned, you guys. You know, from if you guys remember, after putting Coscorrones on Charlie Brown from Corona Park, um, I ended up selling up with him, right? And he was one of the best sellies I had. You know, we did. He supported me with certain responsibilities and good. You know, we did our rutina. We had a good program. I mean, we didn't have to tell each other nada. In the cell, it was all respect and it was all love, right? But at least myself, right? I could never put myself in his ambitions. For example, you guys know I did things extremely for the causa, right? Because again, I always put myself in this position, and I brought things to the table, and but sitting down speaking with GQ, his goal, his ambition was to become a Pili, and I respected that. I never once spoke against it. For one, cause I know better, right? And for two, you gotta respect the man, right? But to me, it was you start off something, you gotta finish something. I don't know if you guys see a little pattern here. To get wiggled in that sense, you always have to hurt your own raza, which is, if you have to, boogie, right? But when you start doing it to your homeboys, and your own homeboy is requesting for you to do so, then there's something wrong, right? Me personally, I started at something, I wanted to finish at something, and I knew the strings behind it, right? And I didn't have no damn expectations. I never, well, I don't even, it don't matter what me, right? Anyways, it was his goal, and right before when I came back from the 180, he was already gone, right? He was already gone, and you could say I feel a little bit guilty. I already put out his story, on Joker and Turtle from Black Angels. Basically, he was there, and we did some wiggling with some candy, right? And before I went out to the 180, GQ was still my celly, and he basically, somehow GQ basically offered his assistance and that he was getting out in a couple months, and this and that, Again, his ambition was to become a Pili, right? To do so, he has to earn, per se, At least is what a lot of vatos think, right? My ambition was to put my neighborhood in good ears, right? In their ears. His ambition was to become a Pili. But it don't work like that, You gotta know how to make, bring things to the table, not just be a torpedo, right? Nevertheless, Turtle shot me a good lista, right? That he was supposed to take care of once he hit the streets. And he was to tell Joker to reach out to him to start networking. And for those that have heard it, Turtle and Joker would end up being the demise of GQ, right? And they played off of his ambitions to be a carnal, because it's a hand that you should never play and put it out there to these individuals. We seem to forget, they're there not for being dumb. They're smart, but at all times, when I say tecatos, it ain't just because they inject themselves. Nah, there is individuals that don't use, but at the end of the day, they're in that wiggle, right? So the mind has to be at tecato's mind, which is always step on the next man, carnal, camarada, whatever it may be, right? But well, the ones that heard GQ's downfall became of that, right? But within time, I came back, and there was a homie, Rascal, there, and he had picked up a lot of respect, right, from Billy's. At least from, again, Turtle was there for a while. He earned respects from him, from Toro. He was in touch, I believe, with Turi. Yeah, Toro put him in touch with Turi. And anyways, turn out the stay there. He was a smart individual, Rascal. He's heard carnales speak about a carnal negatively, and they're not supposed to do that. My respect, Raul and a lot of Pilis I met, and to you, they would never speak ill about another brother. They would always try to knock down their soldados, yeah, take their jardins, but their brother was sacred, right? Nevertheless, when they came to Joker, right, and he used to be spoken, right, negative. For example, he's out there and he's real good at staying in the shadows, but he's just sitting down, not networking, not doing nothing, just getting from his neighborhood, and and not reporting. And again, it was all conversation, right? It's all you heard, and Rascal held on to it. Well, at least it's my thoughts, right? Again, Rascal was a good camarada, but he had them ambitions too, right? And we kept pushing. The next thing I heard about Joker was cause of Shadow from his neighborhood too, and Ayard, I was there holding responsibilities for Artie, and basically he asked for the favor, right? And it was to hit Shadow. He had left some. He had said some things that reached the streets and reached Joker's ears, right? And he wanted him hit. I was with Shadow 4 left, and the homie had been back there in the shoe for a couple years, and he was a good homie, solid. They didn't have nothing wrong with him, and just the word off of him, cause he felt offended. He was in the right to take a camarada's career. Remember, on Pilis are speaking that he's a tecato just sitting down and gaining for himself. That was what was hurting him, right? He wasn't spreading whatever he was getting from his own neighborhood that they're supposed to be entitled of. Nevertheless, Shadow got hit. Again, I was a soldier. I was supposed to do what I was told. Period. It's part of being sureño, right? And all these things I'm telling you, including the demise of GQ when he got out and was supposed to be taken care of by someone he was loyal to. Remember, my Pili. I see it every time I post on some Pili. It's always my Pili. They're the ones that are going to take you down quick. Because for some reason, it's easier, I believe, to go against your own, right? And make a point through there. But GQ's demise came. And, once Joker got busted, I remember when he first got busted and he hit the system. Shortly after is when I left to the feds, right? Remember my case got overturned 2015, March to be exact, right? And shortly after, maybe a month or so, I ended up taking off to the feds. And Joker had a lot to answer for. You know, to be more specific, he had a lot to answer for with Toro. There was a lot of Eastside Victoria that were real strong behind Toro, and a specific Rascal. You see, the politics started. We're talking about, man. It started when I hit Corcoran, right after Shadow got hit. It started from then on, where Billy's were already speaking. Joker has to go. But again, Joker was grounded in his barrio. How was he gonna go when he was surrounded by his homies, right? The thing is, and what a lot of people lose sight of, is when Pilis are jealous of each other and they start attacking each other, they're not gonna go against each other. They're not gonna swing on each other, right? You see, I seen it in the shoe. Us, and I mean campuleros, were in the yards whacking each other, and I knew this. And then I see him and hear him on the tier playing chess with each other. It's just what it is. And that's what Rascal, when he got out with word, not just from Toro, from other Pilis that would later flare up, right? And that were on death row at the time. And to start clipping everything Joker had. You see, they started clipping Joker, first taking down everything he had built out there, right? Little by little, little by little, which is a sign of you're through. When your crews are being attacked by your own homeboy for a different pili, then you know you're done, right? When you're not being respected in your own neighborhood. When all you held on to and hurt was your own neighborhood. And eventually, other disrespect from one of the brothers from SD that tried to get into Eastside Victoria when Joker was out, that happened, would eventually reach back and bite Joker in the butt. You know, the sad part is, like I told the story, GQ and everybody that got busted with him end up paying for it with their career. So there you go, sacrificing your life. You get busted for 10, 15, 20 years to supporting your Pili. Next thing you know, your Pili gets whacked, removed. He's no good. Since you were loyal to him, you ain't no good either. That's how it works. So, and I say this in a way that I don't want people to take it as I'm trying to be poison. If you're already there, if you're under somebody, if you know what I always say, boot up, suit up, and boogie. Handle your business to the fullest. But for those that haven't been there but are on the edge of, should I jump and work for these individuals on the streets, or just stand back and just show my respects when I need to? Be smart. Show your respects while you're really willing to sacrifice everything in a gamble that the call any Pili makes will be the right one, or he's going to throw you under the bus. You see, there was a time where you could hold on to him appeals and present him right, and then it started becoming snitching. Cause you held on to him appeal. What if you get cold feet, you roll it up and turn it into a Judas, right? That's what they were stating. At the end of the day, they started going off on that because, there is a lot of winning individuals, right? They tend to take screenshots or, them things that if you're really in the game, you don't do. And they stopped using that. So your Pili's in the wrong. How you gonna prove it? It came from him. They're gonna say what they always say. I don't know what he's talking about. Handle him. Cause they ain't gonna go through agony because of you. Remember that. So don't give away everything just cause, if you're able to pay your respects, do whatever you need to do for your neighborhood. And at the same time, come a time where it be like, you know what? I done enough. It's time to put in work for myself, for my loved ones. That at the end of the day, I think I show it throughout all my stories that they're the only ones that will stand there, Take it from individual that was busted for double life. That 14 slammed down in the shoe. And when all was said and done, I did 23 years, 11 months in the States straight. And then by the time everything was said and done, 27 years locked up. And for those that have heard the reasons why I walked away, if not, do please go look for them. It's how you get repaid. So I say this from experience, you know. I never sidetracked it. I never weaned out. I did my time, finished my time. If they would have never overturned my life sentence, believe me, I would have never tapped out in the shoe and called it quits and went to that side. I would have bucked up, because that's what we're there to do, right? You're already there. There's no going back. Not even to grab speed to jump, right? So, anyways, for those that know my story, know everything I did was to the line. And at the end of the day, it wasn't even worth keeping their word with 3,500 on a family member. So stay smart, true to yourself, most importantly, loyal to loved ones. Buenas noches, gracias. Oh, before I go, the doctor was the heart, and we had a conversation on why I'm going through this, and basically he told me like this, right? I'll make it real short. He told me that I'm not gonna get better. This is it. I should worry about staying alive, and not to worry if I'm gonna get stronger to do things. What you guys know me, I'm gonna sit down and wait on the doctors, right? You know, hopefully soon I get the papers to do that move I spoken to you guys about, and I'm gonna push myself. You know what? At the end of the day, if it's time, it's time, right? If I over push my heart, oh well. But I'm not gonna sit down and live like this. I got chemo, and he's telling me my heart ain't gonna get stronger. That chemo's gonna take me out. So, well, I have to ask for guidance, right? But doctors, right? They're always surprised talking about I should be gone already, but they put everything in in a scenario for me to go quicker, right? But I never been one to sit and wait for things, right? Again, I walk with the higher power, and I'm gonna ask for guidance, but I'm gonna start pushing myself. But with this said, again, muy buenas noches. I send my love always. Remember, loyalty overall to the right gente.